Once again, we welcome you to Financial Intelligence School. The focus of this school is to bring financial education to the doorstep of everyone who wants to be rich. Today, you want to focus on building a financial anchor. An anchor is anything that provides stability or security. It's also an emblem of hope. Every person needs an anchor to stem any storm that's likely to come into your life. Financially, there are two major storms that can come into your life. But before the storm comes, you need to ask yourself, in the unlikely event that there's a storm in your life, will your anchor hold? You need to answer this question before you find yourself in any storm. I've already said that financially, we have two major storms in life. One, when you lose your job or there's an emergency in the family. Two, when you go on retirement. So these are the major difficulties that many people go through. And so by this video, you want to educate many people to have better and deeper understanding of these challenges that people go through, and you're also going to provide solutions, the way forward to come out of these difficulties and challenges that has caused many families harm. Let's take the first one, when you lose your job. The legitimate question that you need to ask yourself is this: in the unlikely event that you lose your job today, how many days, how many weeks, how many months, how many years can you survive and maintain the same standard of living? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. Unfortunately, many of us do not ask these legitimate questions and find answers to them. You always look for answers when we find ourselves in the middle of such difficulties. And in these situations, many people are unable to come out successfully. People, whatever that they earn, they consume all the money that they earn in the month, and they start all over again the following month. Somebody has worked for 10 years, but the person has nothing to show for all the work that he has done all this while. So every month they begin life again. The question that I normally ask is, continue with the annual cycle of consuming everything that you earn at the end of the month and supplement it with loans. Begs the question, where will you be when your working days are over? Are you going to have enough financial resources and good health to enjoy your retirement? Are you going to spend the rest of your life in regret, wishing that you had done something about your life? Are you going to be a burden to your children, to the family, to society as a whole? Are you going to be asset of government? There are many elderly people in society who have become a liability. So it is important for us to get the picture of people who could not save anything while they were working. One of the major problems that people have is that the only financial strategy that they have is hope. They don't have any specific financial strategy to be able to achieve their dreams and aspirations in life. But the biggest mistake you commit is to build your foundation of your success on hope. Nobody has ever made it in life by just hoping. Expecting to have a better future without investing in the present is like a farmer who wants to have a good harvest even though he has not sown any seed. So it's important for us to hope, but you need to remember that future can be better than now. It can also be worse than now. Even in the likely event that future becomes better than now, it comes with additional responsibility, and that responsibility can wipe away all the gains that you have made. Maybe you were earning 2,000 Ghana cedis a month, but fortunately now you are earning 3,000 Ghana cedis. But the child has been introduced into the family. That calls for additional responsibility. A child has had admission in the higher institution of learning, and how much you are going to pay can be far higher than the increment that you've had in your salary. Somebody can fall sick, maybe a mother or a father or any relative can also fall sick. So when you consider the responsibility that come on our way as we are going, the gains that we are going to make may not be enough to meet the responsibility that we have. So it's important for you to do something today. There are countless occasions where you also have nostalgic feelings about the past, because first we were doing extremely well, but today things are worse than before. On the basis of this, I normally say that today is the most important day. We do not have control over the future. Yesterday is gone, there's nothing that we can do. Where we can have enough control is today. So ask yourself, what are you doing today to be able to overcome the challenges in future? That is why the Bible tells us in Proverbs chapter 6, 6-9, that we should learn from ants. Aunt knows that the time is coming where it will be difficult, if not impossible, for you to get food. So in the dry season, Aunt keep a lot of food so that in the rain season, they will not go out, but they will have enough to eat. We human beings who are created in the image of God, what do? Remember in Proverbs 13:21, the Bible says that a good man is one who leaves inheritance for the grandchildren. Leaving inheritance for the grandchildren means that you have enough to be able to take care of yourself, your children, and your grandchildren. So it is extremely important for us to think about our financial future and to not consume everything today. Now, what is most important is that you want to know whether in the unlikely event that you lose your job today, you can survive and maintain the same standard of living. For you to know that, you should be able to have a permanent income. And the Robert Kiyosaki has come out with a ratio that will help us to determine whether you have enough permanent income to be able to take care of you in case you lose your job. It doesn't matter the car that you use. It doesn't matter the house that you use in. It doesn't matter the lifestyle that you lead. What matters most is whether you have a permanent income or you do not have permanent income. And then the ratio is simple. It is P plus P over E. The first P, we call it passive income. Passive income is the income where initially you will have to work hard. After working hard, the income will flow without any effort from you. Assuming you are able to struggle and come out with a burden, have a burden. Once you have the burden, you are done with the burden, you receive rent from it for many, many, many years. Assuming you are able to write a book, it will take you a long time and hard work for you to come out with a book. Once the book is out, you are going to enjoy from it almost for the rest of your life, and your children can even continue enjoying from it. We call it passive income because it doesn't need any activity from you once the initial work is done. The second P, we call it portfolio income. Portfolio income is the income that you earn from investing in paper assets. Example of paper asset: bonds, treasury bills, fixed deposit from bank, or a share from any company. Assuming that you've been able to invest 100,000 Ghana cedis, and each month the bank gives you 1,000 Ghana cedis for investing the money with them. That 1,000 cedis, we call it portfolio income. So now you've understood portfolio income, you've understood passive income. The third income that you can talk of is earned income. Earned income is the income that you earn from your employer at the end of each month. Unfortunately, we cannot add that one to this equation because it is not permanent income. You can lose your job at any time. But if you have investment in bank, so long as you have not liquidated the original principal, you keep on enjoying the interest. So long as you have not sold the house, you keep on enjoying the rent. So long as you've not sold the right of your books to another person, you keep on enjoying the right. So only these two we can consider them as permanent income. But when it comes to earned income, you can lose your income at any time. The last one is the expenses. So P plus P over E. Let's assume that at the end of each month, you are able to get 1,000 cedis from your investment income, your portfolio income, and then you get 1,000 cedis from your passive income. When you put the two together, you are going to have 2,000. That's your permanent income is 2,000. 1,000 cedis from passive income, 1,000 cedis from your portfolio income. And your expenses for that particular month is also 2,000. What this means is that 2,000 over 2,000 will give you 1. It means that in the unlikely event that you lose your job today, your permanent income is enough to take care of all your expenses. And so in the unlikely event that you lose your job today, you can maintain the same standard of living. That's the meaning of it. Let's also take it this way, that the whole month, your portfolio income for the month is 500 Ghana cedis, and your passive income is also 500. When you put the two together, you have 1,000 Ghana cedis. Let's assume that your expenses has not changed, so it is still 2,000. In this case, it will be 1,000 over 2,000. When you multiply it by 100, we are going to get 50%. What this ratio means is that your permanent income can only take care of 50% of your expenses. This means that in the unlikely event that you lose your job today and you do not earn any income, Your permanent income can meet only 50% of your expenses. So to survive as human being, the only thing you need to do is to adjust your expenses. There are many things that you cannot do any longer. For instance, where your children go to school, you may need to change the school to maybe public school. The emotional difficulty here is, how are you going to explain to your children why you are taking them away from private school to public school? It will be difficult for them to understand you. Maybe you are living in 3 rooms. You need to change it to a single room or chamber and hall. Maybe you are using a car. Because of this adjustment, you need to use a motor, or you need to go by public transport. So these are the challenges that we need to go through. Let's also take another equation where you do not have any portfolio income. You don't have portfolio income. You don't have passive income. It means that your portfolio income is 0. Your passive income is 0. When you put the two together, you have 0. Okay. Is it possible that your expenses too will be nil? No. Your expenses are still 2,000. So it means that in the unlikely event that you lose your job today, you do not have any permanent income to take care of your expenses. So you lose your job today, next month you become a beggar because there's no way that you can survive. Unfortunately, there are many people who are working today who do not have permanent income. Study shows that in Ghana, only 15% of people have have permanent income. A good number of 85% do not have permanent income. And so anytime they lose their job, all of a sudden they become a liability to society. They cannot even meet their basic needs. And this is something that we need to think of. So I don't know the car that you use. I don't know the house that you live in. That is not enough. So make sure that you also do the simple equation, simple ratio to find out whether you can survive in the unlikely event that you lose your job. But the last point I want to make under this one is that the ultimate financial goal of every person is that you should be able to have enough investment such that when you go on retirement, the return on your investment, the interest on your investment should be able to take good care of you and your family so that the principal will always be there. Assuming when you go on retirement, you need 3,000 each month to survive. Then today, you should be able to invest in such a way that when you go on retirement, every month you'll be able to get that 3,000 as in return or interest to spend with your family. So that when you die, you leave the principal for the surviving family, including your children. And so that should be the ultimate financial aim. It's also important that you educate your children about modesty and frugality. If they are not taught about frugality and modesty, when you die, within the shortest possible time, they will liquidate all the principal that you have so that they cannot continue to live rich life. So I normally say that what you leave in your children is more important than what you leave for them. You can leave them billions of cedis, but if you do not train them about frugality and modesty, by the time that you are aware, all the money will be squandered by your children. So that is the first challenge, that's the first storm that we have. Let's talk about the second storm. The second storm is when you go on retirement. You know, when you are working, all you are doing is that you are selling your time and effort to somebody, and the person pays you for selling your time and effort. When your effort ceases, your income ceases. And so when you go on retirement, the major challenge is that you cannot bequeath your job to your surviving family. I now work with Ghana Revenue Authority. When I'm going on retirement, I cannot bequeath the job to my children or anybody that I love. And when I'm going, the best thing that my institution would do for me is to give me a citation indicating that I worked so hard when I was working with them. And maybe, if I'm fortunate, giving maybe a gift visa or something, that's the end. And so from there, the only source of income available to you is the income from Senate. And then interestingly, it's possible for you to earn 4,000 Ghana cedis today. Maybe 2,000 is allowance and 2,000 basic. The Senate is not interested in your allowance. Senate will only pay you the basic. So Senate is going to pay you just 50% of your basic. So somebody earning 2,000, 4,000 today, 2,000 allowance, 2,000 basic. Even the 4,000 was not enough to take good care of you. Now that you are going to earn just 1,000 cedis, how are you going to survive and maintain the same standard of living? Unfortunately, if you still have some of your children in school, then it becomes a disaster. Remember that at that particular moment, we are going to have a visitor. That is where all kinds of terminal diseases and sickness come. And we need additional resources to take care of these visitors or welcome visitors. So it's important for you to, today that you have a lot of energy, today that you have opportunity to take loans, make sure that you save adequately so that in times of, in difficulties like that, you'll be able to survive and maintain the same standard of living. Just like the Bible says that a good man is one who leaves inheritance for the grandchildren. Many people think that they will always have money. The money will always be there. Something interesting happened in the Bible. I think when you read Genesis 41, Genesis 40, Pharaoh had a dream. When he had a dream, he saw 7 lean cows that were consuming 7 fat ones. He could not understand the dream, so Joseph was called upon to interpret the dream. He said that there was going to be 7 years abundance of food, followed by a 7-year lean season of famine. Because the king was wise, what he did was that he told the people to keep food, hot food, so that in the 7 years they'll be able to have enough to share with people. And during the famine season, they had enough to share with other people. So know that today can be your abundance season. We think that future will be better, good. But let us know that we can only control today. And today is the abundance season. So let's keep enough. In the unlikely event that we get into the lean season, we'll be able to have enough. Even when the lean season does not come, what we are keeping now can become a surplus. So it's important for us to make sure that we save a lot. We have presented the difficulties and challenges that many people go through. What is most important is the way forward. What can we do to circumvent this problem? What can we do to overcome this challenge? In Ghana, in many parts of the world, always the focus is on the problems. But now you want to spend the rest of the time to talk about the solutions. There are 2 major solutions that we can have to this problem. The first one is activating multiple streams of income. And the second one is spending less than you earn. So let's start with activating multiple streams of income. It is important to find at least one major alternative source of income. Maybe you are working with somebody, maybe you are earning good income. It is good to work with somebody, but what is most important that you don't know when you are going to lose your job. That company can collapse. That company can also dismiss you at any point in time. It's also possible that you can fall sick where you can no longer work again, but your family must survive. And so you need to get at least one additional source of income. Say that in the unlikely event that you lose your main job, you can survive with that particular one. So I normally say that spend full time on your job and part time on your fortune. I'm saying full time because once you have a contract with somebody that you are going to work for that, the person is going to pay you at the end of the month, you need to be serious with the person. Don't joke with your time. Don't steal that person's time. All the 8 hours spent for the person. But the point is that we have 24 hours in a day. Your employer needs only 8 hours of your time. The 16 hours is for you. Ask yourself, what do you do with the 16 hours? You also have weekends in addition to the 16 hours. Okay? So it's important when you can use 8 hours to sleep, 8 hours to work for your employer. The 8 hours which is left, make sure that you are able to do something. What to do in that spare time is going to determine your fortunes in life. Okay? It is not the duty of your employer to make you rich. Your employer is a business person. He's in to make profit. He's not a Father Christmas. The more he pays you, the less profit that he makes. And so he's not going to pay you a full day for working for him only 8 hours. And so if you use your spare time to watch Manchester and Barcelona, watch Kunkum Bajia and all those things, and still complain that you are poor, then nobody can help you. Poverty is created in bed. You cannot sleep as if you are competing with the dead and expect to be rich among the living. And so you need to work extremely hard. It is the duty of your employer to pay you on time. It is your duty to use part of the money that your employer has given you as a seed to start your own business or invest. I work full-time with Ghana Revenue Authority as a tax auditor. But I've done a lot, which is helping in my family in my spare time. I've used my spare time to write 8 books that are changing lives. I've used my spare time to run seminars for thousands of people. I've used my spare time to establish business that employs 20 people. And I think you can conduct yourself in a certain manner. There's a Senegalese proverb that says that the opportunity that God sends do not wake people who are asleep. There are many, many people who are asleep and still they want to be rich, especially the well-educated people. They are comfortable at where they are and think that they will work for the rest of their life. It will not happen. So let's find something to do. The major difficulty many educated people have is this. They always want to do a job that comes with respect and dignity. But with my experience in business, many businesses that give us huge profit do not come with the respect and dignity that one wants. But if you ask me to make a choice between respect or dignity and profitable business, I'll choose profitable business. Because dignity does not go to market. Dignity does not pay for school fees. Dignity does not pay for wedding expenses. But profitable business does. You do whatever that you want to do now. People will look down upon you for doing a certain menial job because you are a well-educated person. When you continue to do it and you become successful, the same people who are looking down upon you will look up to you for support. So you start something small now. And as you are going, it will be a challenge. It will be a challenge. Time will come where you may no longer even need to work for another person. Then now you are going to help the country or the world by helping now to solve the unemployment problems in the country. Some of the business that we can easily lay our hands on is, I've already said that many profitable businesses do not come with respect and dignity. So as I'm going to mention them, don't say that as for this business, I'm far above it. Are you looking for respect or you are looking for money? Or profit? That is the question that you need to ask yourself. The first one that I want to talk of is estate agency. How much money does one need to become estate agent? All you need is your board and chalk. Even in certain countries, you don't need to register with any institution. Straight away, you can go ahead and do it. And people are making millions of money. But people see this as a demeaning job, so they don't want to get close to it at all. How much money does one need? How much money does one need to be able to run a barbering shop? Look at the number of men that we have in the country, especially in African countries where people have their hair cut on a regular basis. Okay? And so you don't necessarily need to be a carpenter before you can deal in furniture. You don't necessarily need to be a barber before you can run that business. You can take a small loan from a bank, have a nice salon, and arrange with somebody who is good, and then partner that person to do that job. How much money does one need to run a salon? You can easily do it. Production of exercise books, production of core cars. Running part-time for people. Popcorn business. There are thousands of businesses out there. Selling of fruits. Go to the many vantage points in Kumasi, Accra, and the major cities in the world. Today, everyone is interested in the nutrition, to having a good nutrition. And so fruits have become a hot cake. In certain countries, like my country, Ghana, you can have a capital of 1,000 cedis. But by the time you are done with your first business, your first supply, you can make a profit of 100%. And so all these opportunities are there. You can be a teacher, you can be a nurse. When you return from your work, then you set up your small place by selling your fruit and all those things. A time will come you may no longer you don't even want to be a teacher again. Because the small business that people were looking down upon you is now becoming a big business. You can also do registration, you can prepare financial statement for people. So there are thousands of businesses out there that you can do in addition to what you are already doing. So that is this is for activating multiple streams of income. The second point that we want to talk about is spending less than you earn. With all the rules of savings, spending less than you earn takes the highest honor. So I normally say that you must spend after saving, but don't save after spending. Human wants are insatiable. No matter what you do, how disciplined that you are, if you want to spend before you save, it will not be possible. So I don't know whether you are a Christian. If assuming you are a Christian, make sure that as soon as you get your monthly income, you pay your tithe of 10%. The next person to pay is to pay yourself. The best love that you can show to yourself and children is to make sure that you pay yourself 10%. Because you have already paid your secret partner, that is the tithe. You pay yourself, you can decide to pay yourself 10%, 20%, depending on your stage in life, the size of your family, or how much you are earning. And then once you have paid your secret partner, and you have also paid yourself, and you save that money, whatever you have, you can save it. Whatever you have, you can consume it. But unfortunately, many people have high propensity to consume. So whatever amount of money that they consume, so to become rich in future does not even depend on how much that you earn. You can earn 10,000 Ghana cedis and spend all within the same month. In that case, you are not accumulating wealth. You are living high. It's also possible for somebody to earn just 1,000 Ghana cedis, but the person is so meticulous. The person is so serious about his future, said that he will spend 800 and leave 200. If that person consistently does that for a long time, the person can retire rich. And the person who is earning 10,000, 20 Ghana is spending all today will retire and die poor. So it is extremely important for us to make sure that whatever that we get today, we are able to save a portion of it. I normally say that it's important for you to create an artificial environment of scarcity, an artificial economic environment of scarcity. You must create an artificial economic environment of scarcity. Sometimes you are doing extremely so well. You have a lot of money. But in order to have excess money and save for your future, in order to have excess money to help other people in society, there are many things that you can afford, but you will pretend that you cannot afford. In this case, you'll be able to have a lot of money to save. And so, anytime you want to buy anything, the question you need to ask yourself is that, is it want or need? There's a difference between want and need. Needs are basic things that we need in the society, and so you should be able to get them. But when they come to want, you can do away with them. Many people are poor because they pretend to be rich. Somebody is using a phone at the cost of 2,000 Ghana cedis. Sometimes you can work for 10 months, you cannot make that money. But somebody can work just an hour and make that particular money. Why do you compete with that particular person? But the fact that you are holding expensive food does not necessarily mean that society will say that you are rich. So live below your means. Don't live according to your means. Live below your means, because at any point in time, you need to get something to save. Before you buy any item, there are 6 questions that you need to ask yourself. And get good answers to these questions before you can decide to buy that particular item. The first question that you need to ask yourself is, do I really need it? There are countless occasions where we have something called impulse buying. We buy certain things that we do not actually need, because we see that all our friends are buying it, so we also buy. When we go home, we realize that we don't have any need for that particular thing. So because we want to use our money judiciously and have something to save for our future. So the first question you need to ask yourself, do I really need it? Yeah, the answer can be no or yes. Even if the answer is yes, you really need it. The second question is, can I afford it? Affordability is also important. The fact that you need it does not necessarily mean that you can afford it. The second question is, can I afford it? The third question is that, is it the quality product? Does it have a good value? There are certain things that you will be able to buy, but the value is so bad that it will not be able to last. So the value is also important. Is it of good value? It's also important. The next one is that, can I pay with cash? Can I pay with cash? Sometimes you need it urgently, but you do not have cash to be able to pay for it. Can I pay with cash? The next question you need to ask yourself is, do I have anything that can perform the same function? Do I have anything? Somebody has 2 mobile phones. The person has a tablet. The person has desktop. Almost all the things that the person has perform the same function. Now the person is even looking for money to buy a newer version of the phone that he is using. You are wasting your time. Ask yourself, do I have anything that can substitute the things that I'm looking for? And the last question that you need to ask yourself is that, can I postpone my buying decision? Can I postpone my buying decision for 1 week, for 1 month, for 1 year? If it is possible to postpone your buying decision, then that particular thing you can forgo about it. So you just postpone your buying decision. Maybe by the time that the 1 month comes, you may not even find the need of that particular thing. So ask yourself these 6 questions. Get satisfactory answers to it before you part with money to buy that particular thing. Let's see some few things that you can do to reduce your expenses. The steps that individual can take to reduce their expenses. The first step that you can take is modesty. Modesty and frugality are foundation for financial success. You do not have competition with anybody. And so spend within your means. Don't live your life by taking loans from some other people to supplement your income because you want to be seen as rich person. I've already said that many people are poor because they pretend to be rich. You cannot deceive yourself any longer. So live a modest life. Once you live a modest life, you will definitely have something small to save on a regular basis so that you can become rich. The second one that I want to talk about is something that I do often. I call it spend-free day. I choose a day in every week where I do not spend anything. If I'm going to spend at all, I'm going to spend on life necessity, like maybe water or something. What I do is that I have decided that on Saturdays, unless I have something special in town or occasion to attend, I do not park my car. I do not go anywhere. I remain indoor the whole day. Because when I go out, I'll spend maybe 30, 40 cedis on fuel. And once you go to town, you may meet 1 or 2 people, friends, or so you cannot be certain how much you are going to spend. So you spend a minimum of between 50 and 100 depending on who you are. But I practiced this for a long time. So once I'm not going out on Saturday, there's no way that I'm going to spend. So if on that particular day, I'm able to save even 50 Ghana cedis, for 4 weeks, I'm saving 200 Ghana cedis. So I've done this for several years. It is helping me, and I think we can also do the same thing. The third point that I want to get, this is especially for the younger ones. Where you work and where you rent your house, it is important to make sure that you rent a house which is closer to your workplace or your regular place, where you spend most of your day. Sometimes you can get a cheaper accommodation at a place which is far away from your office. And so the cost of transportation, or if you buy fuel, at the end of the month, if you don't take care, you may pay about 3 or 4 times of the rent that you are paying. So even if the rent, which is closer to your workplace, is a little higher than the one at the fireplace, it's important for you to afford it. It's important for you to rent one which is closer to your house. In this case, you are going to, let's assume that in your workplace, you can get a rent there for 100 Ghana cedis. Meanwhile, you can also get the same accommodation. You can get it at another place for 50 Ghana cedis. Here, you are gaining 50 cedis. But at the end, every day, you need to spend 10 cedis as in and out. So at the end of each month, you are going to spend 250 Ghana cedis. That 250 Ghana cedis is far higher than the 50 cedis that you gained. And if your accommodation, if your house is also closer to your workplace, you can sleep, you can do a lot of things, you can have your quiet time, many profitable things that you can do in the morning. And then when you close from work too, you can get home on time. So if you want to have extra money to save at the end of the month, make sure that you rent accommodation or house which is closer to your workplace. The next thing that you want to talk is this. When you go to supermarkets and buy things, or you go to mall or wherever, they set a trap, and unfortunately this trap gets many people many times. After buying everything, when you come to the last counter to make payment, you realize that when you get there, they put toffee and those cheap things that are very attractive there. So when you ask the person, what is my change? The person says that your change is 3 cedis. You say, oh, give me this. But when you were going for the shopping, that particular thing was not in your shopping list. But it looks as if 3 cedis or 2 cedis or a coin is a secondary money. And so you want to do away with it. So give me this, then you take it. You've been caught by the trap that the person has set. If you want to see how significant that money can be, find a money box under your bed. And so when you return from your shopping, The 3 cedis or 1 cedi or whatever, put it in the box. When you take trotro and you have a change of 50 pesos, put it in the box. Just do that for the whole year. When you open it, you can have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 Ghana cedis. Meanwhile, your main accounts, Barclays, Stanchart or whatever, by the time you go in, you may have virtually nothing there. But that particular box, you can have 2,000 or 3,000. So give no money chance. Whether it is a coin, whether it is 1 cedi or 2 cedi, don't just throw it away by just buying anything that you've not budgeted for. Make sure that you do that. The next one that you want to talk about is automobile. One of the things that we spend so much money on is car. Everybody wants to ride a car. And especially when you are a poor person, you are struggling, you cannot buy a new car. And so when you buy old car, you are going to spend your fortune on that particular car. Granted, even that you are financially okay, so you'll be able to buy a good car. But you took a loan to buy the car. 40% of your income will always be used to settle the loan on a monthly basis. You also need about 15% of your income for fuel and maintenance. So you are left with just about 45% to spend for the whole month. How can you save? So I will advise people that when you start working, before you buy your first car, when you take your first loan, invest that money. And then the return on that investment, you can use that one to buy a car. There are many of us too who want to go to our home. Many of us are living far away from our homes. Socially, it is important to visit our family member from time to time. But that does not necessarily mean that you must at all costs go with car. Sometimes if you are moving from here to Western region or northern part of Ghana, the fuel can cost you between 1,000 and 1,500. If you are taking public transport, you could have saved about 1,200 or 1,300. And you see societal expectation, because you go with your own car, almost all family members and old friends may want to take something from you. They will call you, they will give you all appellations for you to be happy so that you can share the letter that you have with them. So I advise people that, yes, from time to time you must go to your hometown with your car, but make sure that this is not done on regular basis. Somebody wants to go to his hometown on regular every week and spend all those money. So I'll urge people that make sure that you reduce expenses on automobile, and that difference can be saved for future. The next thing that you want to talk is that when you go to many homes, in the evening they want to heat water, maybe for bathroom or whatever that they want to do. What they do is that they put the water on the gas cylinder, on the gas, or stove or whatever, for number of minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, 1 hour. When the water is heated, they dilute it with cold water. You see? So if you don't want the water in that hot state, why didn't you take enough water, put it on the gas, so that within 3-4 minutes, it gets to the level that you want, so that you can save money. But you put it on the gas for sometimes 1 hour, sometimes 30 minutes. So the gas that the family can use for 1 month, 2 months, you end up using it for 2 weeks. And so when you are able to use your gas judiciously, you can also save a lot of money there. People wake up in the morning, they don't put all their light off. They just leave it. Make sure that before you leave your home, you put all the gadget off. Make sure that even in the night, apart from the security light, put all of them off. When you are able to do this, at least you can save some few pesos at the end of the month. The next point that you want to talk about is this. When you go to certain homes, after the children have eaten, each child goes for 1 sachet water. The person takes small amount of it and throw the rest away. And so the family that can use about maybe 2 cartons of pure water or purified water will end up using about 6 or 7, because there was no judicious use of these scarce resources. So make sure that after the children have eaten, you definitely know that they will need water. You give cup to all of them, and then you make sure that you share 1 or 2 among all of them so that you can save something. I did this thing for somebody, and after a year, the person came back and told me that the strategy that you gave me, I've been able to save a lot of money. Okay. I said, in your estimation, how much have you saved? The person said, oh, I've been able to save about 4,000 for following the method that you just stated. That's okay. Which one of your accounts? Is it in your bank accounts or it is under your pillow? We say, wow, you asked me an important question. I can't find the money. There's no point if you follow all these principles, but you are unable to what? Save the money. There's no point. What it means is that you've been able to discipline yourself in one area of expenses, but you have introduced another one. Because if you're able to save 4,000, but you cannot see the 4,000 physically under your pillow, in your pocket, or in your bank accounts, what happened to the 4,000? It means that another expenses has been introduced, and that is not the best. So these are some of the things. There are certain families, almost every day, a child misses his toothbrush, and then the toothpaste. Because they are not the people who buy it, they use it anyhow. A toothpaste that can be used judiciously for 1 month, it ends up being used just 2 weeks. I think the leadership of the house, the father or the mother, should take key interest in some of these things. You can even decide to write your children's name on their toothbrushes. And then in the morning, you share it among them. You distribute the paste among them. When they are done, you pick all of them, you go and put them at a safer place. And then the following morning, you make it available to them. When you do all these things, you will definitely be able to spend far less than you earn. And the difference can be saved. And then when you save it for some time, saving does not give us enough interest. But anytime that you want our savings, they can be made available to us. But the interest rate is not encouraging. So after saving for some time, you can decide to invest. The investment comes a bit of risk. You can't also get your money with ease. But the interest or the return is appreciable when you compare to savings. So when you do that, then you are making a headway. Then you can say with certainty that when you retire, you can retire rich.